Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Illumineers Quest podcast, where we talk everything Lorcana. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jacob.
And thanks for coming on this journey with us. Okay, so today is a fun episode. It's a little different. It's kind of theorizing a little bit, but it's also kind of just our thoughts on things. Underappreciated cards.
I think that, there's a lot of decks that I think could be created down the line from some of these unappreciated cards we're going to mention today. I think there's a lot of cards that bring new mechanics and new ideas and new deck types.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, if you think of underappreciated, it's like it's a good card, but it's not really utilized as much, and so, it's not in like a super meta deck now, but maybe it will be down the line some. But yeah, so we're gonna each touch on a card from each ink type that we think is a little underappreciated or, is worth looking at. And if you're not playing the most meta thing ever, and you just want some fun stuff to play, I think this would be a good episode to listen to as well. So
for sure.
Okay, with that said, as always, thanks for listening, and we appreciate all the support. If you're listening to the audio version, we also have a YouTube channel at Illumineers Quest on YouTube, where we do all of our unboxings and things. We also have a X/Twitter account that you can ask us questions or comment on stuff at Lorcana Pod. You can also email us questions at lorcanapod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you are on YouTube listening/watching the podcast, you can follow us on any of the major podcast networks like Spotify, Apple, iheart, Radio, and so forth. So, as always, thanks for listening. And with that said, get into the first subject here, and questions from comments from listeners. So, no specific thing to talk about again on this one, but I say that because I want to go over a lot of the results from the polls that we mentioned a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So since then, we've had a couple, and we've actually got quite a few votes, more on these couple weeks since like the last probably 8 or 12 episodes. And so a lot of results here. The first one, which is from 2 or 3 episodes ago now, I think at this point, is Are you excited for Lorcana locations? And overwhelmingly, with 85% of the vote being yes. So I think we both agree. And in the most part, my one stipulation to not agreeing is it going to change the way the game is played a little too much, a little too fast? But in general, yes, I'm very excited for locations.
I'm excited for new stuff. A little hesitant, I'd say. A little hesitant.
Yeah, I think I'm in that same boat. Then on the same episode, we kind of asked, are they going to change the game in a massive way? And both responses on this one say kind of the same deal, where it's like, yeah, these are most likely going to like really change the game. So I don't know, we'll see. Obviously, we don't have a ton of information on them yet, but I think that is probably the case. And then secondarily, on the next poll that we have here to talk through is the Chapter 2 meta better or worse than Chapter 1? We have different opinions on this because we were just going over the results before we started this, and you said one thing and I said the other. I have to think that our fans are correct, and I agree with the fans. So...
And what did the fans say?
The fans said yes. They said with 83% of the vote said yes, the Chapter 2 meta is better than Chapter 1.
Okay. So
Jake, on the other hand, hates our fans and thinks
I resent them.
That is wrong.
No. So I just think, look, I don't know what it is about Chapter 1, but it was very special to me. So I'm biased. And I think it was special to a lot of people. But Chapter 1 was just a very, very special set to me. And I think that span of time that we had where it was just those cards, two Floodborn per...
But we're talking meta, not set.
I understand. But I think having 2 Floodborn per ink was a big part of that, and that has to do with the set. And I just think it was... I like complicated strategies and stuff, but one thing is, it was a lot more simpler.
Yeah, I'm all for simplicity too, so I can agree with that. But everything else you're saying, I'm disagreeing with. So
I also think that 2 of the meta decks, probably, if I were to break it down in Chapter 2, are way too meta and way too OP, and I think everything was a lot, more easier to get around in Chapter 1.
And you could not be more wrong in that. The 2 meta decks that you're referring to are Steel Song and Ruby Amethyst, and those were even stronger in chapter 1.
I don't. What?
In our initial in this episode, in the meta report episode, we said there are 4 to 5 viable decks in this meta. In chapter 1, there was only those 2 for a reason, because they were that much overpowered.
I mean, we'll agree to disagree.
There's no agree to disagree. Oh, you just backtracking. Okay, I'm on your side, listeners. So thank you for your support as always, and I appreciate you being on my side.
That 16.7%. Thank you, sir, or lady, either
or ladies, sirs, whoever.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that's where we are. And then on that episode, for the question of the episode was, what is the most annoying deck to play against? And this unfortunately kind of supports your theory, because 2 of the 3 responses were for bounce, which is the new Ruby Amethyst 2.0. But there's also a popsicle answer, which I also kind of agree with, which shows the diversity of the meta this time. But
I would say it is.
I digress.
You know what I would say is the most annoying? It's freaking Sleepy Flutes. I hate those. I hate that card so much, but it's the Steel Song.
Sleepy Flutes. Okay. With that said, card of the week, and it is your turn. Card of the
so
day,
I'm going to use
week.
card of the week here as a kind of bonus underappreciated card that's not going to be on the list.
Ooh, okay. I like it.
And that would be Christopher Robin.
All right.
Adventurer.
Yeah.
So he's 6 cost, inkable, 2 strength, 6 willpower, 2 lore, and he has the ability will always be together whenever you ready this character. If you have 2 or more other characters in play, gain 2 lore.
And since Jake didn't mention it, I'll correct him and say that is an amber card.
My bad.
No, I'm teasing. Yeah, I know. I think Christopher Robin's a good one. I think this very much fits that vibe of what you said to start off this episode on these cards might become more viable over time. I can't think of a better card that fits that definition than this one.
For sure.
I think right now he doesn't get played much because the Steel Song meta for Amber is so strong that if you're playing Amber, you're pretty much in that wheelhouse, and he doesn't fit that wheelhouse.
Yeah, and I think there could be a secondary. I mean, I would see this working in maybe some sort of Ruby Amber kind of deck where you could ready it back up with LeFous and Fan the Flames and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, if you quest, ready him up, challenge, ready him up, challenge. I mean, that's a lot of lore.
Could also give him strength with the Queen as well.
Yeah.
So he could be
so he could actually be banishing those characters as he's challenging them.
I mean, I thought of little strategies like that, and I think it's a really exciting card. Like, you could think of it as a super strong 6 willpower challenging card, like challenging weapon.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why this wasn't my actual Amber card for underappreciated. Now I'm rethinking it, but no, that's a really good card.
I'll give it its whole segment. I mean,
That's fair. I think that's a really good one. I think I agree with everything you're saying. I think there's a lot of future potential behind this for sure.
For sure, and I think I mean, it might even get stronger, like what you're saying with locations. I mean, there could be something that kind of like could go into the readying aspect that could make it even better.
Yeah, I would. I mean, the initial thing when you said that popped in my mind was a location that readies a card after it quests. But that would be busted.
There's no way.
That would be incredibly busted.
There's no way.
Yeah, that would be like so incredibly busted that there's just no way that could be a thing. But yeah, so I think you're right. I think we'll continue to see things get developed, and this could be one that gets revisited for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so news, what's on our mind, league match recap, fun experiences we had, thoughts. I think the biggest thing on my mind is we finally sat down and played a ton recently.
It was a good time.
And we finally got paired together at League, which hadn't happened yet, but more importantly, and I grouped those two together because all within the span of a couple days, we finally got to play. We hadn't really sat down and played Chapter 2 together that much, but we played for 3 hours that day?
Yep, it was a good time.
And I think that was the most fun I've ever had playing, in general. I don't know why. We just had a great time, and
I think it wasn't really one-sided at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, that probably had a lot to do with it. I think at the end of the day, I won one more, but it was mainly because you were over it and just were tired.
I'm a little tired. Yeah.
I mean, I think we played for 3 hours, like I said. So I mean, that's a lot. And so, anyways, so yeah, I mean, it was a very even day. We played. You played your Ruby Amethyst deck. I played a little discard, a little Steel Song. So that was fun too, because I like the variety of it.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, yeah. So that's what's on my mind is just the. But I think that's genuinely the best fun or the most fun I've had playing since we started. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what. There was nothing like crazy special about it. Mm-hmm. Just it was a really good fun session playing.
It was also like a little like this is a gaming term, but a little like grindy a little bit. You know, it was just keep going.
Yeah, we just kept grinding the games through. I mean, how many did we play? Probably 14, 15. We played an odd number, so probably 15.
Yeah, probably. I mean, and wins were literally going back and forth. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, that's true. So at one point, I think the first like 10 games probably whoever went first won. Mm-hmm. And we finally said, okay, whoever the first one to win not going first wins. And then I won like the next game that I didn't go first, I won. And then the next game that you didn't go first, you won. And so we're like, okay, well, we can't use that to decide it. I completely forgot about that part. So yeah, it was really fun back and forth. And yeah, it was just a great time. So that's, I mean, again, this is what that's all about, right? Like it's playing and having fun with your buds. So,
also one thing that I've been, I guess I'll use this as mine, I guess. I've been kind of building some, I guess I'll say decks that go against the rules. Different kinds of ways of playing the game, like just for fun with your friends. So I've been thinking about a single ink deck, which hint hint wink wink might be a future episode.
Yeah.
So little stuff like that, like a deck, like a multicolored rainbow deck, but only 1 costs, which would be interesting.
Ooh.
A deck full of 1 card. Little stuff like that.
Some of the what if stuff that we've gone through.
Some of the what if stuff, adding some fun to it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's cool too. Anything else then before we get going on this? Are you good to go?
I think I'm good to go.
Right.
I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket.
All right. Well, let's go then. Okay, so we're just gonna go through these inks as in kind of order like they are, but as I kind of touched on when we started this. We each have 1 card that we think is a little underappreciated in today's set from each ink type, and we're just going to go through it and go from there. So I'll let you start, Jake. You can kick it away here.
You started because I already got one.
Oh, I guess you got the card. I guess you got the card of the week. Okay, I'll start here. So for Amber, my currently underappreciated card, and this is kind of funny that I'm doing this one because this is one of Jake's big ones to start with. That quickly fell by the wayside, is Grand Duke, Advisor to the King. So Grand Duke's the 2-cost, inkable, 2 strength, 2 willpower, Amber card, quests for 1, but his big ability is that your Prince, Princess, King, Queen characters all get +1 strength. And shockingly, there's a lot of King, Queen, Prince, Princess cards.
A lot.
And I have him, and the reason I picked this one is because there's not like a super meta aggro, whatever you want to call it, Royals deck, but he is in my discard deck because the Flynns are princes, which is shocking. But
so I mean, it is a Floodborn, so maybe it's an alternate.
No, all the Flynns.
All the Flynns?
All the Flynns.
So it's all post the first movie?
All the Flynns are princes.
Spoiler alert.
Simba's a prince who's also in there to help bodyguard, protect.
Okay.
Prince John is a prince.
I mean, that makes sense. But
and so like most of the cards, are very underpowered for the discard deck because they're not really challenging much. But that really helps if you get into that area where you need to challenge, especially Simba being a 3/3. Like that's crazy.
There's also some really interesting ones, like Lady Tremaine is a queen, the Floodborn one, which is
yeah.
I believe there's a Scar that's a king.
Yeah, so, I mean, anyways, the point is that there's not like a super meta deck that he's behind or in currently, but he does help out that discard deck that I play a ton. And so that's why I chose him here. And, again, given the chance for a royal deck at some point with the amount of King, Queen, Prince, Princess cards that there are, it'll just, could become even more viable over time. All right, that's mine for Amber.
Coincidentally, mine is a king card.
See, there you go. That's my point.
We've got Mufasa, Betrayed Leader in Amber. 5 cost, Inkable. 3 strength, 3 willpower. With quest for 2 lore. This is one of our legendaries in Amber. And his ability is the sun will set. When this character is banished, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card, you may play that character for free and then enter play exerted. Otherwise, put it on the top of your deck.
So he replaces himself, essentially. There's a very strong chance he replaces himself.
Yes. Depending on how you build the deck as well.
Yeah, and I may have told this story already, but the first time he was played against me, he was used on just in time. So on turn 3, they played just in time into Mufasa. I banished him the next turn to have Rockstar Stitch played on me. And then I was done after that because it was just impossible to take out Rockstar Stitch that early on.
There's lots of possibilities.
Yeah.
For what it could pop out, if you're playing Amber Ruby, it could be Monstrous Dragon for all we know.
Very well could be.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, it could be. It's a little bit of a gamble. Like you might get something good, you might not, but I still think that overall that ability at least replaces himself with something on the board to deal with. So,
which is cool.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay. I think that covers Amber then, right?
We're not. The thing with Amber overall is that you're not seeing anything out of Amber Steel Song. So anything that doesn't fit that is pretty much unplayed. So I think most of Amber, I could say, is pretty underappreciated. There may be a secondary Amber deck coming down the line at some point so that we see a lot of these cards, but...
Okay, and we didn't discuss this, but I'm going to do it, and you can do it for Amethyst. I'm not going to go into full details on it, but I'm going to give an honorable mention to King Louis for Amber. So if you want to know more about King Louis, like I said, we're not going to spend all the time on it, but I think King Louis is another one of those, like we talked about Christopher Robin, that could find a home in a really crazy deck at some point. King Louis would be my honorable mention. Okay, moving on to Amethyst. So this one was tough for me. I was between 2 cards, and they're very, very similar. I was between Hey Hey and Cusco. So they're both 2-cost inkable cards, both quest for 1, and they both replace themselves. So Hey Hey, when this character is banished in a challenge, you return this character to your hand. So it's kind of like drawing a card because he was banished, and rather than going to your banished pile, he goes back to your hand. And Cusco is a same thing, and it says when this character is banished, you may draw a card. So he goes to the discard, you get to draw one. So it's from the respective like keeping your hand full, it's the same. However, I chose Hey Hey. One, because of the art. I think that has to be mentioned. You have to say the art. But 2, he's got 2 strength versus Cusco's 1, so the chances of him banishing a character in that challenge as well is a lot higher versus Cusco getting banished, the person that he challenges staying in the game. And so Hey Hey's more likely to trade, and so that's why I went with Hey Hey.
I think there's also a big part in that the Cusco's only 2 costs as well, but Hey Hey's 2 costs, and so you're getting that 2 cost back in your hand to probably play it again next turn, on top of something else.
Or to ink. The other, I guess,
yes.
I didn't honestly have this just crossed my mind just now, but if you're drawing with Cusco, you might draw an uninkable. With Hey Hey, you're going to get a card that if you need to ink next turn, you can ink it.
Sure.
So
I think it's really nice for sure. It could work with some maybe bounce strategies. It's not.
Yeah.
It's there. It's nice.
And on to yours, which I will preface by saying you stole from me. This is I think, maybe the most underrated card in the set. Like, the entire set.
I said it, and they're like, oh, that's mine. So I didn't know it was yours.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying you stole it because that's a really, really good pick. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Go.
Also, can I just say the art right off the bat? But
Fantastic.
We'll get into that.
Okay, go.
Peter Pan's Shadow.
Not sewn on.
I don't get that reference, but...
Because, like, in the movie, when it's not attached to his feet and they have to, like, go get his shadow, like, he's not with Peter Pan. It's just the shadow that's attacking.
I was thinking of, like, cloth sewing.
But that's, yeah.
I get it.
So, okay. So, anyways, Peter Pan's Shadow.
4 cost, uninkable, 2 strength in Amethyst. We'll say that again. 2 strength, 3 willpower. Quest for 2. And so this is where we get into the goodies here. So he has evasive.
3 abilities.
He has evasive, rush, and tiptoe. And that is your other characters with rush gain evasive.
Yep, that's crazy. 3 abilities.
I could see a super insane like Ruby Amethyst deck that's not bounce with this down the line. It could work bounce into it, but
much more of an aggro version of Ruby Amethyst.
Not even like it'd be aggro like challenge with Shere Khan and Queen of Hearts. And Ruby's already got some evasives over there as well, but like Maui giving him evasive?
Maui's a little different because he can't quest, and so the evasiveness does. I mean, it helps because it keeps him from being able to remove. But yeah, I mean, Maui, the new Queen of Hearts, I mean, she's probably going to die on her rush because she's only 2/2, but you've got Zeus then from Chapter 1, which, like him, having 0 strength when being challenged, like that's a really, really good card to have to give evasive to because he goes in and does a ton of damage, and then he can't be challenged the next turn to then be punished. So that's a crazy one. And then, Rafiki, like you mentioned, I mean, there's a ton of rush characters that you could build a package around to continue to remove cards from the board with and then leave them on because they're all evasive then. So I like it a lot. I think it's a fantastic pick.
And also within itself, it's a 4-cost evasive 2-quester. So
yeah, from that respect, he's a Pongo. I mean, he's got Pongo stat lines aside from the uninkable.
He's just uninkable. So,
but I think given the evasive, the rush, and the tiptoe, the uninkable makes it balanced.
It's worth it. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, I completely agree with that one. I think that, like I said to begin with, I think that's a fantastic pick that is very much overlooked. And again, as more characters come out with rush, that gets even stronger. So it's a perfect pick for this.
Also, again, I'll mention locations. If there's a location that gives your characters rush.
Ooh, good call. Okay, switching it up a little bit, going to Emerald. Or wait, no, sorry. Do you have a honorable mention that you'd like to pick for Amethyst? I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
I like. Okay, I'll say this. It's not a character card, but I like I'm Stuck.
Yeah,
an action card.
I think that's fun.
Which is a 1-cost inkable action. Chosen exerted character can't ready at the start of their next turn.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a kind of mini 1-cost Elsa, if you think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
It kind of freezes a character. I think it could see play down the road as a strong 1-cost action.
Okay. Not much of a honorable mention as we just went through the entire card, but we're getting there.
What else am I?
Just say I'm Stuck. I think like I did. I didn't go through all the King Louis stats. I said it could be a good one.
My bad.
I'm teasing. Okay. Moving on to Emerald, I am going to say, and I'm actually glad you said I'm Stuck because I'm sticking on the same theme, and I'm going action card, and I'm going with Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. Mentioned this in a couple episodes now. I would love this card to be the coolest thing ever. The best line I can think of, or the best play with this is, one, it's a song, so that alone gives it a leg up. But 2, if you play Lady Tremaine, remove a card, sing Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, and just replay Lady Tremaine.
First of all, you got to explain the card so people know what we're
talking about. You know what?
Let's
Let's do that. That's probably a good idea. So, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. It's a 3-cost uninkable song in Emerald, and it says, "Return character of yours to your hand to play another character with the same cost or less for free."
So, to what you just said, Lady Tremaine.
Yeah, so the way it works, I guess to explain this too, just to be super clear, is once the card leaves play, it's no longer the same card because you don't theoretically you could have another Lady Tremaine in your hand, your opponent doesn't know, so you can just play that same card again. And so yeah, the best version of playing this that I can think of is play Lady Tremaine, somebody else on the board sings this, and you play Lady Tremaine again, and then you've taken out 2 characters from their board for nothing.
Maybe even 2 ward characters.
Yeah, potentially even a Pete and a Cusco, and then your opponent is crying.
Yes.
So yeah, that's mine. I think we and if you listened to our Inc. ranking / tier list for Chapter 2, Emerald's unfortunately not high on the list, and so it just doesn't have a lot of viability in the current meta. But I would love this to just really troll your opponents on just you just keep bouncing and removing and It obviously works really well with characters that have on-play abilities, or maybe even like Genie. Like you bounce somebody and then you replay Genie again and bounce somebody else. And so yeah, I think there's just a lot of fun shenanigans you can get with Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
I like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. I've seen it played a few times. I think that it will reach its full potential soon enough. For sure.
Hopefully. Okay, so let's hear your emerald here.
So I picked the 13th legendary of Chapter 2, Ray Easygoing Firefly.
I shouldn't have even asked.
Which is a 5-cost, inkable, 3 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 3, evasive character. And I mean, I just think that not enough people are seeing this card. It adds a lot to the meta, I think.
What does it add to the meta?
Easygoing Firefly. It just adds.
Oh, it just adds Ray.
It adds joyfulness.
Okay.
If you're ever feeling down, and you just need someone to cheer you up, you play Easygoing Firefly, and that's why it's 13th legendary of the set. Like it helps everyone out, gets you through your tough times. Quest for 3. It's got Evangeline in the back. It's just a good time, man. I don't know what else to say. It's common, so you're pulling a bunch.
We did pull.
You got a bunch of Rays just surrounding you. Come on.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's a good time.
That's fair. Okay, Ray for the win.
There we go.
Okay, and my honorable mention for this set would be Dr. Facilier Fortune Teller. Again, another card I would love to play if possible. I just think that Emerald is so far out of the meta right now, it just doesn't work. But hopefully that one can get further into the meta as we go along. Let's
just say Emerald as a whole is underappreciated.
Yeah, honestly, I think the developers really underappreciate Emerald. Okay, let's go on. Go on to Ruby then, I suppose, right? I guess that goes back to my turn. Since I just did honorable mention, it feels weird, but this one's a little weird because I think it is played and is appreciated to a degree, but I think it's way stronger than people are giving it credit for the most part. I'm going Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer. Yeah. So quests for 2, evasive for a 3 cost. I know we've talked about this one before too.
Has 3 willpower as well on a 3 cost.
Yeah, and so it's you don't care about the strength on evasive. Like you're not challenging with Pongo. You're not challenging unless you're really in a pinch with evasive. And so the fact that she only has 1 willpower isn't a detriment to me at all. It's the fact that she, the 2 lore quester, in Pongo moved down an ink cost to 3 in Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer. I know she's played in some of the Ruby Amethyst decks, and definitely in some of the more aggro Ruby Amethyst decks, but I think that it's underappreciated how good the card is. And so this is a little bit outside the norm because it definitely is played, but I think the card's fantastic. So yeah, that's mine for Ruby.
I like it. It's a good one. Do I get into mine now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, mine is Donald Duck, not again, exclamation point. It's a 5-cost inkable, 1 strength, 5 willpower, quest for 1, has evasive, and his ability is Fooey, exclamation point. This character gets +1 lore for each 1 damage on him. So, I have a funny story about this one. My dad, when he first saw this card, I traded one to him, and he's like, "This is one of the most incredible cards I have ever seen. I'm going to buy 3 for $8 each off a TCG player right now." He just got his back a week ago, has not even touched them yet. But having said that, this is kind of a 2-for-1 here. This is one of the legendaries as well. Teeth and Ambition.
Teeth and Ambitions.
Gives this 5 lore right off the bat.
You technically could just teeth your Donald twice.
Yes.
I think that's like both the advanced and the noob way to play it.
I agree with that completely.
I think and I say that because the advanced way would be you could like really catch your opponent off guard and get 5. Like maybe he's the only card on the board for you and you're at 15 lore and it's like, well, they're not in lethal range and so they don't really worry about it too much, but then you teeth yourself and then he wins. But I think it's the noob way because me being a noob would probably do that every time I play him versus teething Ambitions him and then taking out an opponent card and then only giving him 3 for a minimal amount of time and then give and not taking the board control. So I think like it's very dynamic in that sense. But yeah, I think that's a good one too. I saw this card and I think we talked about it. I would love this to be a fantastic card too.
We were in a movie theater when you showed this to me for the first time, which is...
Oh yeah, okay, I do remember that. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one that, again, I think perfectly fits, where this could get into a place where, like, I don't know, you're playing with the queen, so he has a bunch of strength, and so he can actually do some challenging if necessary. I think, he just doesn't have the ability to challenge, and so, like, running him into a character to get that damage doesn't do much. It just wastes a turn because the one strength isn't going to kill anybody. But with teeth, it gets really interesting.
For sure.
Okay, you got an honorable mention? I'm throwing you on the spot again. You got an honorable mention, or were you moving on to Sapphire?
Let's see here.
Not ready.
You know what? I do, because I think, oddly enough, it's not being played a bunch.
Okay.
Dinner Bell.
Yeah, we talked about Dinner Bell way too much, and we really messed up Dinner Bell. I think you're right. I think Dinner Bell is a good pick.
So I say it, knock right off the bat. It's a 4-cost inkable, which is kind of a problem, but whatever. Yeah. But I like it. It's
Ruby
a good
card draw. Yep.
It's a solid item. Like it especially with the I'll just say right off the bat, Mother Gothel, Withered and Wicked.
Yep.
It's nice there. So.
All right. Okay, Sapphire. We are. This one was the hardest one for me to pick because
I'm actually changing mine, which is funny.
Okay, that's fine. I just feel like Sapphire has like the 5 cards in Popsicle that are just like nutty, and like nothing else is played in Sapphire. Like, yep. Is that fair to say?
Completely fair.
So it's really tough because we were even going through the list, and you've got like Sisu, obviously, which I think the first time I played Sisu on Pixelborn, I was like, man, I'm in trouble. The Sisu is killing me. Don't see Sisu at all. I think you've got Grand Pabby, which again, I was like incredibly high on. Don't see him at all. You've got the Cogsworths, which again, I think have some very strong potential. Don't see him at all. You've got Alice, which again, everybody was like incredibly high on.
Stop talking about my card.
Don't see her at all. Okay, I'm just going out. Okay, good to know. So mine, I'll stop saying every card. Mine is Caterpillar. And the reason I chose Caterpillar is because it's a 3-cost, 3-quester. Is this the only one of its type? Is there another 3-quester in the set? I don't think there is, right?
What do you, if 3 cost?
3 cost. So I'll go over the stats for again. So Inkable, 3 cost, 1 strength, 3 willpower, quests for 3.
I mean, there's the Pinocchio, which is probably even better.
That's true. But that's, I guess, a little bit different of a scenario because that's super aggro. But yeah, so there is another alternative to this, but there's, besides Pinocchio, there's not a better quester at this range. So.
I believe so.
I mean, anytime you're doing that much damage or putting that much pressure on, especially that early on in the game, you can really put your opponent on their back foot. But again, given the Popsicle engine, there's no place today for it. So yeah. All right. I will turn it over to you.
All right. So out of nowhere, I'm picking Alice Growing Girl. No one expected that. 3 cost, inkable. 1 strength, 4 willpower, quest for 1. She has 2 abilities. The first one is Good Advice. Your other characters gain support. And then the second ability, What Did I Do? While this character has 10 strength or more, she gets +4 lore. So I think what's cool about her is she has a built-in engine to help her main goal. Also, another big part of why I love this card is that it's 3 costs. Yeah, and you could quest for 5 with it. Pretty nutty.
And if you have the Emerald Queen on board, you could technically quest for 5 turn 4.
Yeah.
So
I mean, also there's a Pete. Is it Pete that works with it? Or
yeah, Pete and Emerald.
Yep. So I mean, there's
a lot of potential.
I mean, I like it a lot.
Yep, I agree.
I think it's also one of our legendaries in chapter 2.
You just love picking the legendaries, don't you?
I think it's crazy to say that the legendaries are underappreciated.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's wild.
All right, well, I'm going for my honorable mention. I'm going to go with the one that you said you were going to go with. Winnie the Pooh Having a Think. I think it's a good Dinner Bell replacement that's a little underappreciated. But yeah, so I'm saying Winnie the Pooh. Just for you.
Dinner Bell replacement? You said
dinner. I did say dinner. You had me on the dinner, but not dinner bell. Fishbone quill replacement.
There you go.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like I do that once an episode at least.
Also, I'm just gonna put out another honorable mention.
Go for it.
Sardine can.
Yeah, I almost picked sardine can as my honorable mention, so I'm glad you said that.
All right, last but not least. There we go.
Yeah, and it definitely isn't least, but I don't know. Maybe it should be. No,
what?
I'm kidding. Steel is obviously incredibly powerful, and so it's hard to pick one to steal because most of the cards are so good. And to be honest, I don't even remember which one I picked. Did I say the Prince? I said the Prince, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I said the Prince. Okay. So I'm going the Prince. Never give up. He's a 3-cost, inkable, 1 strength through willpower quests for 2 in steel. He's got bodyguard, and I think he's like rivals Simba as the best bodyguard.
Like best earlier bodyguard, yeah.
I know. I say body. Like I think Simba's the best bodyguard in the game.
Did you say resist +1? You did. Right?
No, I'm not there yet. But
my bad.
Well, I mean, we'll get there. I think Simba's the best. Is the Simba Protective Cub is the best bodyguard in the game because he's definitely the most used bodyguard in the game, and so I think he's the best just because he's the most versatile. I think the Prince again. I think he's in a weird spot because you have Steel Song, and so he just doesn't have a place. But I think he's maybe the best bodyguard, or definitely the second best bodyguard because, as Jake spoiled, he's got resist +1.
Sorry.
So 3 strength, 3 cost with resist +1. He's really hard to take out. I mean, you pretty much have to come in and like Maui him that early on. Like obviously later on in the game, there's going to be plenty to take him out, but you'd have to grab your swords him twice. Like you're not going to do that. I mean, Smash doesn't take him out.
Grab your swords twice wouldn't work.
You're right, it wouldn't. I can't do math. So
I mean, Smash would only do 2.
Yeah, so you'd have a lot of direct removal to get him out, and his whole point is to just be annoying on the board and protect everything else.
He quests for 2 and 3.
And he quests for 2. So, anyways, I think that there's a world where the bodyguard meta becomes important in Steel again, and he's like really powerful. But with Steel Song right now, it's just all about direct damage. It's how many direct damage cards can you have in your deck, and that's all that matters. So he just doesn't have a place, but. That's the point of this episode.
He will down the line for sure, I think.
Okay, so I think that ends my turn. So go for it. Finish strong.
I've got a card that at the beginning of the chapter I used to love, and it's called Pick a Fight. It's an action card that is 2 costs, uninkable. Chosen character can challenge ready characters this turn. I used to make a lot of people upset.
Yeah,
my family
you used this to get me. You used this against me quite a bunch the first couple times we played. And it was very, very annoying. I agree.
For sure. Another reason I love it is it's our first Wreck-It Ralph card. I'll just say that right
Yeah,
off the
that's
bat.
fair.
It's got Wreck-It Ralph right on the front, so a little tease for Chapter 3, I believe. I would assume.
Hopefully.
But I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I mean, it's able to take out threats before they're used most of the time. Or if something like a Prince John or something like a Duke that usually stays ready to never exerts, it's there for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay, you got an honorable mention you wanna touch on for this one, or are we wrapping up here?
I do actually. Li Shang.
That was gonna be mine too. So if you didn't have one,
I think it just adds overall protection, and that's all I'll say on that. I just think it helps out a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so hopefully, like maybe we do have like a crystal ball here, and we look back in like 6 months, and some of these are like super meta now.
Sure.
But yeah, that's kind of the point of this, and so hopefully we gave some insight into like good cards that are underplayed. So if you are looking for something kind of different and fun to play, I think all of these cards we touched on today definitely.
They're all fun. I really think they all are fun.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
They really are like all pretty cool and interesting to play. And some of them like we've said in past episodes, I think kind of had their own built-in engines that help just the deck immediately.
Yeah, and I will say, though, if you want something really fun to play, I would say go either from Jake's pick would be Peter Pan's Shadow, or from my pick would be the Prince from the Steel Bodyguard. I think both of those are going to be very annoying for your opponent and really fun for you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if you're looking to troll your opponent, those are the 2 that I would go with.
I agree with both of them, actually.
All right, I think that wraps.
And Ray,
of course. So, any final comments? Are we wrapping it up there?
I think we're wrapping it up here, man. It was a good episode. I liked it.
All right. Well, as always, everyone, thanks for listening. And if you have any questions or comments you want to leave us, what is your underappreciated card? Shoot us a note, and
For sure.
and we will comment later. And as always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.